Lesson Master 1-4. Now, on these ones, now you should be in good shape to do these. Gentlemen over there, you with me?
No, not really.
Okay, can you turn around and join me, please?
Yeah.
This is really asking the same thing. Most of this is asking the same thing as that worksheet that we just graded. Okay, to get the domain and range off of a graph. Okay? They ask the questions in backwards order. They first ask you for the range and then they ask you for the domain, but don't let that freak you out. I'm going to run through and do all the domains and ranges first, and then we'll go back to the part C on each one because that's where things get a little tricky. So on number 4, if it's asking for the range, that's where you're asking yourself, does it go up forever, does it go down forever? Okay? So will it eventually hit both of those?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do we say for our range? All reals, good. What about the domain? Also all reals, right? Because from left to right, it also hits both, so all reals there too. So like I said, I'm going to come back to part C in just a minute. Number 5, what about the range on number 5? Okay, all real positive, so you could write that this way. All reals positive, or you could say all reals greater than what? Okay, now notice when I'm writing it this time, what did I not include that you've seen me include here before?
Or equal to.
Okay, the equal to, because this graph never actually hit 0, right? This does not actually hit 0, so I don't want to include that in my answer. So I can say all real positives because positive doesn't include 0, or I can say greater than 0. What'd you say for a domain on this one? What would you say for the domain?
All real
Okay.
7.
Go ahead, Dylan. Can't
All
answer my
real.
last one.
Except 0 and negatives, maybe?
Okay, all reals except 0. I agree with that.
I didn't mean the negative part.
Okay, good. When you go left to right, this hits everything. So it does hit negatives because this part of the graph covers all those negative values. But you're right that what it's missing is the 0. It's missing this. Okay? So I would just leave it as all reals except 0. Okay? What about a range on number 6? Emily? Perfect. All real numbers greater than or equal to, what is that, -3 actually? Here, yeah, here's -5. So all reals greater than or equal to -3. That's saying everything from -3 up. Okay, that's how you would write that. What about the domain on that one? All reals, yep. Goes everywhere left to right. So let's talk about some of the notation that you see there in the part C of every question. What I think would help is for you to realize that f of x is interchangeable with y. Okay? So when you're graphing a function, f of x is really like your y value. So when this says for what values of x is f of x equal to 0, it really wants to know when is y equal to 0. So on this graph, here's where y is equal to 0. What is x equal to right at that point?
0.
X is equal to 0, yeah. So your answer would be x equals 0. What is this asking you when it asks you to find g of -2? Anybody know? Okay, so what does that mean on the graph? Okay, so let's look up on the front. Back here, when I told you to find C of 1987, what did you do? Okay, so we went to 1987, right? We read up to the point, and then we read across to the y-axis and gave that value, right? That's the same thing you're doing back here. So when I say find g of -2, I'm going to find -2 on the x-axis, okay? Go up to the graph, and then read across to the y-axis. Now mine's all scribbled, but I think that's about 2. On the y-axis, is that about where it hits? So I go to -2, up to the graph, and then across to the y-axis. And I think I get 2. Alright, so for part C, I'm asking you for what values of x is y equal to 1? When is your y value equal to 1? Anybody have one? Well, here's where y equals 1, right? So let's read across to the actual graph. Now what do you notice here? How many different times is y equal to 1? Twice. So I need to give both of those values. Okay? So y equals 1 right here. So then I need to give that x value. And y equals 1 right here. So I need to give that x value. What are my two x values? I think it's 4. Negative 4 and 4. Okay? There's that section, because I know that we didn't do that previously. Okay, go ahead and hand that assignment up to the front. I'll just take that one from